Welcome back, guys, and for those of you who are new, let me give you a little bit of an introduction. Just over a month ago, I posted a video that blew up more than I could have expected. And now over multiple platforms, thousands of you have discovered me and my work. So not that long ago, I asked you guys to send in some questions just so you get to know me, the artist, my art, the process, kind of everything that goes on behind the scenes and in my head a little bit better. Whether it be from, and I hate this word, a struggling artist to viral moments. I'm very much someone who really loves the process more than the end product. Very cliche, I know, that it's not the destination, it's a journey, but I am very much about problem solving. And so in the world of art, where people just seem to be so anchored on to the term struggling artist, I like not being that, and then kind of showing you guys my methods along the way, the good and the bad, the ones which succeed and the ones that don't. Some don't, trust me. So let's get into it. What was life like growing up? I'm going to try and connect it to art rather than giving some biography of my background. So firstly, my dad's Greek and my mum's Iranian. They both met in Birmingham, England, of all places. And yeah, the rest is history. And growing up, because I was part of the generation that didn't have iPads, we did have like MSN, LimeWire to download music. Some of you, the 90s kids, will understand. I'm pretty sure like you couldn't use the phone and the computer at the same time, the home phone. It was like, did that noise. And so because of that, we weren't screen babies. And yeah, that's not even because, you know, we were different. It was actually just because no one was. So we're out in the streets playing. I say the streets like it's like the ghetto. It was not. I'm very privileged. I was born and raised in Bath. I have a troll on here who loves reminding me that I went to private school. I did, but I was on 3 scholarships, so I wouldn't have been able to afford going to private school. My brother didn't go to private school because he wasn't on 3 scholarships. Essentially, I managed to get higher education at a significantly lower price because I did drama, art, and sports. I had those 3 scholarships, which makes sense. I'm an athlete, artist, and very dramatic, so... So growing up, I really liked school, which I feel like so many people love to bash on school. It was actually just one of the best times of my life, especially like looking back, realising I really liked pretty much all of my teachers. I'm quite a personable person, so I'm not particularly academic, so I liked making the teachers like me as well. So I was a people pleaser and I thrived on like external validation from like authoritative figures. So yeah, I loved school. I did do art in school, but I wasn't the best at all. Also because you had to write a lot about your work, and I didn't like writing about it, which is funny because now I could honestly write for days about my work, but it's not so much, you know, the feelings and what it elicits and all this, which I could actually talk about with my art, but I just wasn't great at the theoretical side of it. So I think I got a B in A-level art. Yeah. And then kind of the final thing about my upbringing in relation to art. My mum was like quite a smart sadist when it came to our punishment. She would push us to the brink of boredom with our punishment and then only give us like one activity. And in her head, which makes sense now, so my brother, she would remove everything and just leave him in a room with a piano. That was the equivalent of the naughty step. With me, she'd just leave me with like paints, which I know you're like, that's not even punishment. It is when it's something you don't want to do, but the way she saw it was she wanted us, if we were gonna not sit in the punishment of silence, we had to distract ourselves with something that she thought was productive or like of value. My brother's like a really good pianist now and he can't read music. How nuts is that? I am an artist. And so that was something that actually, I would say, massively shaped my career unintentionally. When did you start art as more than just a school subject? I specifically remember in university, I was studying like sports science, like it's such a DOS. In England, it's quite normal to go to university, especially at my era, because the government paid for it in advance and then you pay it back slowly over time. Still haven't paid that back. And so it was really easy to go to uni, so it wasn't like, oh, only smart people go, which is weird because other countries I've been to, when I explain I went to uni, they see it as like a really intelligent thing. Maybe that sounds really ignorant of me, but if you were raised here, that's not that impressive. If you went to university and studied like a doctorate, like law, anything like that, yes, you are unbelievably intelligent. I did sports science, that's a DOS, okay? And so when I was there, I was just really bored, and so to procrastinate from my degree, I could justify it if I was like doing something creative, which is kind of where it backfired with my mum's punishment, because then I'd just draw instead. I got really into drawing faces, and if I'm honest about the psychology behind it, I think the people pleaser in me liked doing something that impressed someone, but also I was like, and I sound really sad, but I don't mind being really honest about it. If we go to the root of it, it was like a gift, almost like, please like me, I did this for you, which is weird because it also, if it gets received the wrong way, it can be quite shrine-like, and I can look like a stalker. I remember, and I'll put up a couple of images, I did George, this dude in uni, and he loved it, and he was just a super cool dude, so I was like, yeah, I'll draw his face. And then one of our friends was a DJ, so I designed like the t-shirts for his like event, and I remember just thinking like, God, that's cool, but like looking back, they were like such cheap t-shirts, but it was cool at the time. And so I just kind of like made that a bit of my identity, that I was like the girl who, like the creative girl who drew faces, but it wasn't that serious. I still thought deep down it was a little bit lame, because I think I associated it to the need to be liked. So I didn't see it as any form of career. I saw it as quite like a sad thing. And I continued that when I travelled, but it was more gesture to like show my gratitude when I'd stay places. I would draw, I'd find like, whoever's house I was staying at, if they'd be at work or be out or something, I'd find a picture around the house, whether it be of like their grandma or their niece or something that I knew would be like of value to them, sentimental value, and I'd draw that person. I remember I babysat when I was in uni, and I drew the parents, I drew their baby, and then like left it for them. They ended up getting it framed because they just thought it was so incredible, and it was just like, yeah, this tiny little drawing. So yeah, just things like that. That was the common theme, was it was always something I did as like a fun little thing in the background. Little did I know where it would take me, or the fact that that was essentially becoming my decade-long portfolio. What drew you to using biros over other materials? Really easy answer here, and it seems so ridiculous and very straightforward. I travelled loads, and I had like an A2 art book, and sometimes when I'd tear out the paper and put it back in, it just still would shuffle because I put it in the bottom of my suitcase when I was travelling around Australia and New Zealand. And anytime I used I loved the TikTok pencils because I liked the sharpness, the crispness of the line, how clean it was. But when it would shuffle in my suitcase, it would always smudge. I lent into biros because I got so obsessed with how clean the lines were, and I liked the fact that when I travelled, it reduced the chances of smudging. That is purely why I lent into the biro, and why I picked the biro over like a fine liner pen is I found it harder to do like softer lines versus harder lines. With a biro, you can make it lighter and darker through the hardness of like your pressing, and so it was a nice middle ground to keep it clean whilst I travelled, but also I could still kind of have a similar-ish, close enough to pencil, like depth with the pencil. That is why I use a biro. And then I've stuck with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Is there a specific mood that makes you want to draw? I've been sad, I've been happy, I've been all these things, and actually sometimes too much of an extreme emotion is actually just too distracting to draw. Even when I'm in the best mood, I find it hard to draw. Sometimes I just need to be in the most like nothing mood just like zen, so I can just like not be distracted, not be looking for some kind of dopamine hit elsewhere, and just get my head down, shut up, do the work. But the time I am most influenced to create, I wouldn't say necessarily just specifically pen to paper art, but my best projects from beginning to end, is when I am heartbroken. And I know that might sound a bit cliche or very like Taylor Swift of me. I am very sensitive, and matters of the heart, I will talk so openly, but matters of the heart is something I really never want to publicly put out there. But truthfully, it's because I'm forever disappointed. That's a whole different ball game, but something is happening to our current generation of men, and it's making it very hard to date. And so with that, sadly, because I am an old school romantic, I wear my heart on my sleeve, I fall into these things which are very appealing at first, and then they turn out not to be so much. I find it's in those moments where I am so mad at the world, and I'm so mad that I got tricked again into something that wasn't what I was led to believe it was. And I kind of get this like vengeful feeling where I'm just like, do you know what? And it sounds so ridiculous, but sometimes I actually have to emphasize it in my head. I have to make it a like bigger deal than it was, because I know, right, there is only one positive that's going to come out of this, and I'm about to create some absolute magic. So I'm just like, fuck you. I'm so mad that I'm like, do you know what? I want to create so much magic that when you're sitting there in your kind of fuckboy ways, you can't, you know, go on social media, you can't turn on TV, you can't walk down the street without looking at a billboard, and for some way my creativity has influenced that thing. That's what fuels me. And I know you might be listening if you're maybe not someone who, you know, deals with heartache or anything like that and being like, that's a bit ridiculous. But no, some of my best projects have come off the back of just being so heartbroken, shutting myself away, and just being just so mad at the world and being like, do you know what? I'm going to create this sanctuary that's amazing. I want to make so much money so I can create the most beautiful home for myself where no bad energy can come in it and affect it. And so that's the thing that fuels me every single time. Whether it be a big or small project, it's a stepping stone towards the bigger picture, which is my peace and happiness. What are you most self-conscious about when it comes to your art? How do you overcome it? I honestly don't think there's much I'm self-conscious about. I actually don't think it's what am I self-conscious about. I think the more important thing is like overcoming reasons why you would be self-conscious. I think you can be the ripest peach in the tree and there still will be someone who doesn't like peaches. And that's okay. You just have to accept like not everyone is gonna absolutely lick your ass and tell you it's the most incredible thing ever. And you're deluding yourself if you think they will, but also you're hindering yourself if you think that that's exactly how it's gonna go. I think you should have an abundance of confidence in your work, and that's built up by actually being very accepting of either criticism or maybe not the best feedback. That was mad. Just had a little situation, my tripod just totally stacked it. We're back. I think exposure therapy, I'm really hot on exposure therapy. Sometimes you need to hear the stuff you might not want to hear. At the end of the day, any artist's like self-consciousness would be born of thinking their work's not good enough. And so I would very much apply the fact that there is going to be people who think it's not good enough, and that's okay. They either won't pay you, or if they have paid you and they want some changes, that's also okay. They paid you. They paid you, therefore that's proof in the pudding that of course it's good enough. They just want a few amendments. I just think, and this doesn't just apply to work, be ready to have uncomfortable conversations and meet it with grace and understanding and self-awareness, but also a backbone, because I promise you, you will go so much further, not just in your career, but in life. What's your favourite piece of art you've made? I have a few. And sometimes I actually forget about some until I'm going through my archives and I'm like, ah. From the beginning, my initial favourite piece was Freddie Mercury. The reason being is one, he's one of my brother's favourite artists. and I'm very close to my brother. And when I was not going through a great time, my brother would often, whenever we'd have like kind of sitting in the driveway in the car just talking about life, we'd often play Queen. So I think by association to my brother, I love that piece. What he doesn't know is when he buys his first house, I actually want to gift him that. So that's not for sale. Some pieces I don't put for sale because I want to just keep them. And I just think if someone wanted it that bad, they will find a way to contact me and offer a ridiculously high price. And then I'd be like, oh, I could be swayed. My second, like, again, in order of what I've created. So I do grief pieces for people who've passed on. I create pieces for the wake. I create pieces for if you can't speak at the funeral and you send me the speech and I'll put it over a time-lapse video of me drawing said person. Or I just draw pieces just as like kind of a memorial in your home, like a piece to honour them by. And I did that recently for a very good friend of mine, and it was her husband who passed, and they were young when it happened, like late 20s. And I put that, I drew that in Kenya actually. It was a surprise for her that her sister, my other good friend, commissioned. And yeah, I think 'cause I was in Kenya on my own, Nairobi, never been there, and it was just the first piece I did, and my like association to those people, I would say overall, including the video, it's one of my most beautiful pieces, and every time I watch it I cry. I'll link it below if you want to watch it. And then finally, my third favourite piece. I got so many favourite pieces. I love the rhinos I did for my recent animal collection. I just like rhinos anyway. Funny enough, from my experience in Kenya, I just kind of fell in love with rhinos. So I knew I wanted to draw rhinos for this exhibition, and it was my most complicated piece. It was my mountaintop, but yeah, it was the steepest climb. However, the view from the top was incredible. That rhino one, it's the most expensive one because I secretly don't want anyone to buy it. So that when I own my own home, I can have the original in it. I love it so much because it's a true testament to my patience, my dedication, and just my work ethic. That's what that piece signifies for me. What was your first reaction when your video went viral? What were you doing at the time? Let's end on this question. So, whoever asked that question clearly hasn't watched my other vlog. I like having goals. I like working towards something. I like kind of a big goal and then making these little steps along the way to get there. I like that application to kind of wanting to achieve anything. I knew I was going to Australia. I planned it in August 2024. I had some goals that I wanted to achieve for 2025. So coming into the end of 2024, I was like, okay, what do I want to achieve for 2025? What are my kind of goals that I'm setting myself, and what kind of time frames would I like to do them in? I just created the animal collection. I created this phenomenal series in a ridiculous time frame, and that really solidified for me that I can do anything I put my mind to. So with this kind of like newfound air of confidence, this wind under my wings, I was like, what are we going to do for 2025? Let's go mega. I had 3 goals for Australia. One was to make new memories with old friends. I had a lot of friends there that I hadn't seen in 9 years. I used to live in Australia, and I just wanted to see them. That was it. So that was one goal. New memories with old friends. 2, I just wanted time for my art to breathe. In England, my previous life was, I was working, not a 9 to 5, it was like a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. job, sometimes a 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. job, and then around that, full-time art, and then training ridiculously for jiu-jitsu. I don't think I went on a single date for 2 years. I just wanted space to like not have an alarm to wake up to, and just spend my day just doing art, but at a nice relaxed pace, not like a really militant, like we've got to do this. I wanted to go back to my head in the clouds a bit so I could create some serious magic. And then the third was, I wanted to try and gain more exposure for my social media. That was my plan. I want to see if I can get a video to go viral. And now what people don't know is I document a lot of stuff, but like 90% of it just doesn't see daylight because the project didn't work out. So I'm like, oh, there's no point posting this. Or I'm like, well, when it does work out in 5-10 years time, I'm going to have like this archive of footage where people could be like, oh, God, she's been trying for a long time. So my plan was, I'm going to just document the process. I remember I filmed in the first week of January and I was like, hey guys, so I'm in Australia now. Guys, I'm in Australia. Mental. Look, that's a whole nother story. But basically, it's 2025. I've taken my work remote. We're on the road, baby. I was like, I'm just going to keep going. I asked people in positions that I admire, respect, look up to, people who were doing better than me, but not artists necessarily, just people in fields that I was like, I can take like a nugget of wisdom from there, a nugget of like knowledge from there. I can apply like their work ethic to this. Oh, they're really good with social media. Let me just monitor what they do. I just married all this information that I gathered from people who are doing really well, whether they be people I know or people I was just monitoring. I think Tony Robbins says, like, actually adopt characteristics and mannerisms of people you want to be more like. It's not necessarily like you're just imitating them, but you're fake it till you make it. That's how you kind of embody the person you want to become. I see that in business as well. Okay, how can I make my business embody these successful people? Like, what kind of things are they doing? So I took a very like pragmatic and like analytical approach as well, like looking at the data, like, okay, how often do they post, what time do they post? And then I used ChatGPT as well to totally assist me in stuff that I know nothing about and I don't have time to do business courses or read books or listen to podcasts. I already do the podcasts and books, but there's only so many hours in a day to fit it all in. And I applied it all. I made the vlog out of it. It was a 60-day process. I did not, for the life of me, think it would take 60 days. I actually honestly thought it could be maybe a year, maybe longer, but I'll start documenting it now and you guys won't see the footage for a long, long time. Turns out you saw the footage quite quickly and it was amazing. So, watch the vlog. It's in my playlist. I'll link that below as well because you won't be disappointed and it is really interesting. Whether you are an artist, whether you like social media, or whether you just like seeing the process of how things work, it's a really interesting watch. That's how I went viral. I really did think, for me, I made it when it hit 15,000 views. Can you see that? Can you see? 14.8,000 views. Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Oh! That was making it for me because that had exceeded any viewership I had on a video. So as far as I was concerned, that was the box ticked. It's now at like 24 million, I think, views. So nuts. So I'm going to end it there. I would like to do one of these again, so if you do have any more questions that you want to ask, especially off the back of this, I love talking about myself. I love talking about business. I like the sound of my own voice. And I love connecting with you guys. I'm meeting people from various platforms that I would have never met otherwise. So feel free to chuck anything down below, any additional questions, and I might do another one of these maybe next month. So thanks, guys!